The Indiana Pacers are finalizing a trade to acquire All-Star forward
Oh,
Pascal Siakam in
Mm.
a deal that will send Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks to Toronto.
Wow.
Now I'm seeing the Woj says New Orleans will be a third team in deal, sending Kira Lewis to the Raptors. Okay, well,
Ooh.
we got something to. I promised people that we weren't going to talk about fantasy basketball, and I think we probably have to now. Okay.
Do you know the picks involved with that? Like who the picks belong to?
Just says 3 firsts so far.
Because that's quite a bit for the right to pay Mr. Siakam a boatload of money.
That is a lot. That's a lot of picks. Okay, well, initial. I guess it's good that we're on air so we can talk about it.
It is a lot of picks, but Pascal Siakam he's a baller, dude. Like the Pacers are going for it right now.
What do you think the difference between him now versus like the bubble when he was just kind of getting teams were loading up on? They knew he was going to do the spin move. He did the spin move every time. What do you think now? Because I see differences, but I'm curious what you think.
Well, I think getting OG Anunoby away from him was probably a good thing.
Yeah.
And now I think getting him out of Toronto and giving him a new start in Indiana is a good thing. I think he's going to absolutely love the Sacramento gift that keeps on giving, known as Tyrese.
Careful, Brew. Careful, Brew.
Who does not want to play with Tyrese Halliburton?
Let me ask you this, Steve. Who can't play with Tyrese Halliburton? Like, if you can't play with Tyrese Halliburton, like what? Do you just not like basketball or something?
Your name is probably Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole is the single most hilarious player in the NBA right now.
Dude, bringing Siakam to Indiana, man, they are straight up legit now. It is on.
Well, they were pretty good without him. And it's kind of curious they got so many power forward options now. Did Jackson get freed by chance?
No, there's no other names in this. There might be another deal coming.
Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and then from a third team, Kira Lewis. The players going back to Toronto.
Richard could get rid of Jordan Nwora, his favorite player.
They are loaded up at power forward, though. I mean, and small forward. They've got tons of all of them. Like Jarris, they trade him. They can trade Jackson, Jalen Smith. There's lots of guys.
And Buddy Hield's still a Pacer. That's
Buddy Hield's still a Pacer.
Buddy Hield is still a Pacer.
I'm happy for Bruce Brown. I haven't in my deep leagues haven't been able to cut him. I think I cut him once on a super stacked team, but he's been dealing with injuries and he's just sort of in roto like an auto, top 75, 100 guy when he's going. And I think in Toronto, that's probably a good landing spot for him.
Do you guys think Bruce Brown picks up most of what Pascal leaves behind? Not usage-wise, but minutes-wise?
Dude, I need to look.
Pirtle's out, too.
It's that team is so Scotty Barnes-centric now that this does ease the usage equation. Emmanuel Quickly has been cut loose.
Yeah, now doubly so.
Yeah, I don't think he can handle any more usage. Everybody can, but I don't think he can.
It's really funny. By the way, this is the perfect time for this. I've got Dr. A and I've got Brew on the show. And we're talking about how blurbs in 2002, like the revolution of it was having them tell you what to do. And so thank you to Carter in the chat room who says, who we had. Isn't that nicely? That brings it full circle, doesn't it?
Yeah, Bruce Brown, I think you got to, right? Like he's getting paid enough money to matter in that context. As long as he's not hurt, you know what you're getting. And usually what you're getting is top 75 in a roto league. Now, sometimes that doesn't play depending on the format.
Well, they don't have any bigs now.
Yeah,
like Toronto doesn't have any bigs. Like Jakob Poeltl's out. Siakam's gone.
I don't know if you guys can see the note on the screen that I put?
Yeah, I know. I see that note. I feel like
the note,
Philadelphia coach Nick Nurse
For people that are listening after the fact, I should read it out loud. It's a user asking, is it Boucher season for the 3,500th time in Toronto?
This is probably very similar to what the Toronto Raptors war room looks like right now. Well, we got Quickly and Barrett and Scotty Barnes, and then a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't even know, like can Scotty play the 4? Let's put him there. And
they got Gary Trent floating around out there too.
Dude, I made the mistake of saying it might be Boucher season.
Yeah, I was with you.
Twitter when Jakob Poeltl went down the other day.
Oh, you did that recently?
Yeah, that didn't work out very well.
I feel like Nick Nurse broke his spirit. Like he's not Chris Boucher anymore. He's like some other guy that doesn't shoot the ball every time he gets it in his hands, which is probably a good thing for his basketball play. But for fantasy, you're not that one year where he was really truly cut loose. That was fun. Many moons ago.
He's kind of old now. He's like 30.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy?
He's an old rookie.
We've been asking the same question about Chris Boucher for a decade now. That's how long. All right, here's another question. Is it Jonte Porter's season? I mean, until Poeltl gets back. I guess it kind of could be. Dr. A, what do you think? Is it Jonte season?
Well, it's Jonte, Boucher, or Thaddeus Young, or Jalen McDaniels.
The answer is usually Thaddeus here. I
think I'll take Jonte Porter's season. I like that.
It's not a terrible idea. I mean, Bruce Brown probably picks up a lot of the Pascal minutes, but at the same time, like, they got to have somebody who's not. Can Scotty Barnes would be the 5 if they ran exclusively small. I don't think they want to do that to him unless I'm misreading the situation.
I don't think either team is done trading yet. I think both of them are going to make another deal.
Yeah, Gary Trent, you've got to think is on the block because I think they said it like 4 months ago. So that's why you would think that.
Buddy
Hield, all the Pacer forwards.
Anybody they can get rid of, really. I don't think they're looking at Poeltl's deal and thinking, "Oh, that's great." We're good there. I think everybody's on the block.
Brew, what about the Indiana side? I'll just come right back to you on this one. Doesn't this basically just blow up anything that was going on with guys like Neesmith or Toppin or Jackson or whatever, at least as long as they're still in Indy?
Yeah, my top level thought here is, what does this do to Tyrese Halliburton when he gets back? Like, he is by far the guy you want the ball in his hands. Like, it's not even close. I wouldn't want Siakam to have the ball, really much on initial action. So, I mean, and to kind of touch base on a little bit we were talking about before, I do think Siakam's improved quite a bit over the last 2 to 3 years. Him playing with a Tyrese Halliburton is a great thing for him because it can really get him in the ball in a lot of just easy positions. And this inefficiency question that he's improved on, but it's dogged him since those playoff losses. And really, they kind of characterize the Toronto. Why are we trading people? Why do we not think this core can work? Well, it's because Siakam and Anunoby both wanted the ball, and Scotty Barnes wanted the ball. And, back in the day, Fred VanVleet wanted the ball. And you got Gary Trent wanted the ball, but none of them could really figure out who the number 1 was. He can come in and get a lot of nice, easy, efficient playing next to Halliburton. But does that happen? Do they say, all right, you guys are more equals? And you see Halliburton go from really nuclear, this is one of the better versions we're going to see of Halliburton through the years, to something a little bit less than that. That'll be a bummer if that happens. But that's my first thought. And then after that, I do think that it's good that you got guys like Buddy Hield. He's kind of like a cockroach that'll just never, ever, get destroyed. If he gets 20 minutes, he's going to hit 3 threes and, have some rebounds and assists and somehow pull together a fantasy line. But the other guys downstream, yeah, they're really going to struggle. I'm kind of curious about Miles Turner as well. If he can tap into any of that upside that really, folks have been chasing for the last 5 years with this kind of a move, because Siakam's clearly at minimum the number 2, on that squad. And then you got guys like Mathurin just hanging out. Downstream, they're going to struggle, but they got to make another trade, I think, at least to get rid of Hield. Curious what their plans are for Mathurin if he's a core guy. They're an interesting team. I think the Pacers could, get out of the first round in the East and surprise a few people.
Doc, what are you thinking on this as we sort of settle down now and try to figure out what the heck this all means?
Well, I'm anxious to see what your question was going to be when I interrupted you.
I've actually forgotten what it was. Doesn't matter anymore.
But I mean, bye-bye Jalen Smith, bye-bye Obi Toppin, bye-bye Jarris Walker. The core of Halliburton, Siakam, and Turner is pretty awesome. Bruce Brown out of the way frees up Buddy Hield to maybe move back in the starting lineup. It's going to be him or Mathurin. I think I like Mathurin a lot. I'd like to see them continue to develop him, but developing young guys is not going to be Indy's priority. And they've got Rick Carlisle, who is suddenly now fun Rick Carlisle instead of grumpy Rick Carlisle, right? Because the Pacers have been running and scoring as many points as they can all year, and he's playing the same guys the same minutes every night. Like I've really enjoyed the Rick Carlisle experience this year much more than in the past. And they asked us for bold predictions. I don't know which website it was that I worked for. I think it was ESPN. And my bold prediction was Pacers are going to win the East. And
it's not that insane.
I like it.
They were my biggest over season win total bet this year, which I lost when my computer exploded in mid-August. But you knew they were going for it this season, right? Before
and the Celtics are better. I mean, the Celtics are better. The Bucks and Sixers, yada yada yada. But I mean, the Pacers are not that far off,
and they're fun as hell.
The interesting part and why Rick's probably so happy over there is because Halliburton went from, I watched him super close in Sacramento. He did everything the right way, and you could throw like a Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or whoever kind of super athletic, rangy defender on him. It would really shut him down. Like he didn't have the strength and he didn't have the quicks to get around those kinds of guys. And this year, it's kind of like he does. He has the length to kind of get around with a scoop shot if he wants to go all the way to the cup. And then he has his sidestep three, which is really his kind of secret weapon. And he can fire that off at a high efficiency. So he has really left to right, north, south. He has all the directions covered now with the same IQ that's just expanding as he goes. So the idea that those guys could put it together and you add a Pascal Siakam to the mix. Yeah, I think, I wouldn't put them up against those guys and say they're going to win, but yeah, that's a good bold prediction. I didn't know you made that one. That takes some cojones after they 34 wins or whatever the year before.
They asked for bold. I gave them bold.
That makes me think of that old Doritos campaign where it asks, do you guys remember that commercial where it asked if you were bold and daring? I think this was like an early 2000s thing. Follow up for both of you guys. Doc, I'll start with you on this one. You said you don't think they're done. I think we probably all agree on that because Toronto is mid teardown at this point. Pacers still have all these young guys that you already mentioned, guys like Mathurin, Jarris Walker. They still have contracts they can move. Is there any way for us to game plan on the fantasy side for someone else that might get moved? Like, is there someone that's close in the pecking order in Toronto, more so than Indiana? Because Indy's they're gonna be a sort of thin the herd, trade pieces to get bigger names kind of team. Toronto feels like the one where, look, if more guys keep getting moved out of the way, at some point, someone besides Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, and Scotty Barnes will probably have to do something. Is there any way for us to know who that could be?
I mean, I think Jalen McDaniels and Jonte Porter are the two guys that stick out to me that, like, hey, we need you guys to step up right now and start playing.
What's interesting about that is I think this Toronto team is going to start winning. Like, they've been waiting for these trades all year, and I thought it would be actually a lot worse than it was because it's just stale. Like the stars are on their way out, and everybody's just waiting for that stench, of inevitability to sort of leave the room. Insert IQ, who has really, the Knicks just screwed that up every which way they could. Tom Thibodeau screws it up almost all the time. He and RJ Barrett are getting cut loose. They're going to play free and happy. And you got Scotty Barnes, who's had a great year, and he can kind of get some shine now. And a lot of the questions of who's getting the ball there kind of now land right on his lap. So the roles are all nice and fit. And the coach, man, he really won me over with that speech the other day.
Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite things I've ever seen.
I was like, I need to play this every morning when I wake up.
Why do we play the games? So awesome.
It was amazing. And then Mike Brown follows it up with the laptop at the presser the next night. It's been a great week.
That was a Pat Beverly move. You got to get a prop involved or it doesn't count.
I mean, that was such a perfect meme that it's too perfect. It's like, it's so perfect you can't even use it. But I think that so if they're winning, to kind of tie that point back up, like Jalen McDaniels, I had him on the radar as, like a 30 deep league, kind of guy that he'd shown well in Charlotte and has a good enough stat set to where it's like, hey, this guy, he's good stat set, landing in a new place. Maybe they could have used him more in Philly. This guy could get cut loose, but if they're winning, I wonder if they play those guys, because they didn't really play him this year. I mean, Jalen McDaniels has been getting 6 minutes, and it's been kind of a question of like, why? He's much better than a 6-minute player. So they might just start clicking, and a Bruce Brown to kind of really tie it in. This guy is perfect for any situation. You drop him into any situation, and he'll just be a connector, and he'll get his stats. They'll be sporadically, thrown around the box score from night to night. They might be complete, minus the fact that they are waiting on Pirtle, to be the size underneath. So they might sit that out and just sit with this squad and see what they can get going forward. I think Indy for sure, though. Jarace Walker, I haven't seen too much of him, but he's never not made me think, hey, this guy could be something. And so you're sitting on that behind Pascal Siakam, who you just grabbed 3 first-round draft picks and tossed him, the other direction for it. That guy's not needed anymore. So are they going to do what they did with Isaiah Jackson, which is kind of like ruin his value and sit on him? Or are they going to get rid of 2 of those guys? I mean, minimum. Actually, I don't know that that Walker would be an item for Sacramento, but there are a lot of teams